he's going, wow, I've never seen one of those. Well, that's the kind of same way with the artist. You want the artist to know what is underneath those clothes and that skin. And even, I'm just a cartoonist, meaning I only work with line. I don't see light and dark like Charles Vess or Alex Ross or, you know, Steve Rude. These guys who can paint, they see light and mass. I see lines and outlines. I'm a cartoonist. And even I know that I needed to know the muscles, the bones, and it would help to know, you know, what's underneath all that too. You know, where the organs are packed and what happens when somebody is skinny or has a lot of extra body mass. And it's kind of the reason why, you know, I'm into Dexter and I have a corner hat, because I've spent, one thing led to another. I started off looking at anatomy books and drawing skeletons, and next thing you know, the more I learned about that, the more empowered I felt. I remember the day it kind of all clicked for me. I had decided to paint a picture of Linda Ronstadt. And so I spent like 3 hours in my music room just doing that. And when I finished, I thought it looked really good. And I suddenly thought, I had this kind of like rock moment where I thought, you know, gosh, I can draw anything now. If I can draw that, then there's no difference in drawing the mailman or president or a cartoon character or Sandman or, you know, whatever. And once I realized that, it was very empowering, and I wanted to know more and more about how to do it. So it gets to be pretty fascinating, because if you just memorize what's on the outside, how do you know how to twist it and do Gumby with it, you know? And one thing that is, I don't know if you believe me, but I'm telling you the truth, I don't use any reference when I draw, because you can't find it, you know? The poses and everyday poses that I want to do, you'll never find them in a magazine because everybody's posing. And fashion models only use like a dozen stanzas, and that's not ever going to be in your story. And so I found it best just to have a lot in my head about the way people work, and then the more you stretch and manipulate it, you know, the easier it gets to do.
May I have the camera from the back? Yes, can you talk a moment about drawing somebody moving up?
That's hard. That is hard.
In that area.
Yeah, because, okay, well, first of all, if you can, do it sideways. But I know you're talking about, like, which is funny because in photographs, if you have, I've seen some photographs of people looking up, like the Man Ray Girl and all that, where it is just the prettiest angle I've ever seen in my life. But to draw it is really hard because you've got the mouth, you've got that, you've got the chin, and how does the chin come back into the neck? And it's actually much simpler than you would imagine, but when you draw it, nothing looks right. Ears are right here, you've got just a hint of the forehead, and only if they have a ton of hair are you ever going to see up here. But that's kind of like how I would start. The neck is coming down here, like that. And now is when you really need your anatomy, because now is when you've got, like, you know that you have the spinal cord coming up in here, and the trachea is in there, and it's going to come into play even if it's a female. So there's going to be, you know, a bump there, and that umagoo bladder, or whatever it is that Lester Nielsen said in the Dracula movie. And then the upside down area here, this, when you put your head back, you've got this massive tongue right here, and it pushes it back down into here. So now you've got that tongue mass, and all the sinuses are pushing down into here. It's like Dr. G. So you've got that.
And I've also noticed that we all tend to draw nostrils much smaller than they really are. Nostrils tend to be longer and more intrusive, but smaller nostrils look better in art. So, there's the nose and that. There's nothing coming out of this one. Nothing. See, I start thinking me like, what's going to come out of that now? Now is when you can really appreciate how the upper lip is shaped. And you're not going to get much of a view of the bottom lip, even if it may be really full. And of course, everything is being pulled down, 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 down. As the head comes back this way, everything starts stretching. It's like this is where the pin is. You're rocking, there's a pin there, and there's a pin there. And then the bulk of the head rocks on the base of the neck, which is a really, really good place to kill somebody. Right there. So you've got this pinion, think of it like that, and then the head can come back here, about that far. Before, and that neck is going to be pushed out, like that. If it goes back any further than that, he's in a Steven Seagal film. And he's dead meat. So,
there was a question over here next.
When you say you don't use any references, does that include your own artwork and you sketch stuff out?
Well, to tell you the truth, I don't do any prelims or pre-sketches or anything because I'm on the deadline. I just go straight to paper and I've done that from the beginning. I just never had time to do it, to do the layouts and all that. But if you do work for, say, Marvel, they pay you for it even if you didn't do it, which is nice. I mean, because you get paid all kinds of ways. You get paid for layouts and the pencils and the inks, even though for me it's all one process. I just penciled right on the paper and then just started inking. That's cool. But I didn't have time for it.
Over here.
Speaking of deadlines, are you pretty regimented in your drawings versus storytellers write religiously every day, same time, for same duration?
Now, I mentioned that I was a musician, and so that total lack of discipline in my work ethic has carried over and brought me far. I don't. What I've done to compensate for my lack of a routine is to just make it my life. So all I do is eat and do the book and sleep, and sometimes we interrupt it for a convention. That really is the bulk of it, you know. I tend, and I'm not the only person in this way. I know a lot of my friends down the floor are also. I'm very obsessive, so I would draw something like forever until it's right. And my stomach will be in knots, and I'm hungry, but I can't. I'm just trying to fix that eye, you know. One eye's up here, and one eye's down here, and I just keep drawing it, and they go there, and they go there, and they go there, and they go there. Or I can't get the expression I want. What really happens is, and it's amazing, sometimes it'll be the most mundane stuff, but if I want to draw Kachu seeing David for the first time after a year, and there's tears in her eyes, it comes right to me. I can get something like that. But trying to get people, the hardest thing I think to draw is two people talking for a page or a page and a half. Just talking. You know, every time I write a scene like that and start drawing it, I start cussing out the writer.
There's a question down front.
Do you have any advice on drawing male or masculine faces? Like to make them more masculine?
It helps to realized that men have come down from two basic sources, the Homo sapien and Cro-Magnon, and they had two different skeletal frames, and depends on which one you base off of, I think. You're really entering a big area of BS there, but that's how it works for me. I think about, okay, it's hard, you know, you have the guy who's the smaller jockey type, and then you have the guy who's pro ball. They don't really have the same details in their skeleton. Maybe the guy that plays soccer may have a more prominent forehead, or he may have sharper angles, and there may be, I don't know, there's just a lot. They say that there's 44 basic faces on the planet, and then everything else is a variation of that. There's a basic guy face right there. And what we do with it from there depends on whether we find him attractive, or he looks rugged, or he looks effeminate. You know, it's just, you have probably a stronger forehead, or it can go slope back. I saw somebody the other day had a tremendously sloped back forehead like that, which I think is more, you know, like more Cro-Magnon. And the Homo sapien guy was, you know, had maybe a taller forehead, as if they came from two tribes and then they met somewhere in Europe, started intermingling, and then they say that Cro-Magnon disappeared. But I swear to God, I saw one this morning. So, just getting the angles set. Maybe a stronger mouth if you want him to be attractive, or a mealy little mouse with a pencil mustache if he's a pedophile. Walking around staring at all the costumes. There he looks like he's under control, like he's dipped into a 6% solution. But suppose he sees slave Leia.